In 3, 2, coming to. Oh shit! Fuck! Give me 1 second. I gotta change my shirt.
In 3, 2. Oh shit! I gotta change my shirt. Oh man, that's funny. I like him. He's funny.
Welcome to Nothing Venture, Nothing Game. I'm your host with the most, your GM Jared, and today I'm joined by Jeff. How you doing, Jeff?
What's up, man? How's everybody doing? Hope you all doing great.
Wonderful. And in case you're wondering, we're just doing character spotlights for our current campaign of Wrath of the Righteous, which we are playing in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Now, Wrath of the Righteous was originally done for Pathfinder 1st Edition, but we are converting it to Pathfinder 2nd Edition because it's an amazing AP, and Pathfinder 2nd Edition is an amazing system. So, why not mix the two? It goes together like peanut butter and chocolate. So, Jeff, why don't you give a little background to our viewers and listeners of who you're playing, their character name, their ancestry, and obviously their class.
Right. Well, I'm playing Sortok Dextor, who is a hobgoblin wizard. Sort of the reason I went that way is I sort of wanted to have this a very intelligent hobgoblin who tries to sort of use his intelligence to sort of calm his demeanor in a way, but like sometimes he has a very short fuse. So like sometimes his like sort of like hobgoblin like rage or aggression will come out, but it usually takes a short time to get there. Like usually he's pretty docile, but like you saw in the prequel when I was in the bar and everyone just started acting the fool, I just blasted everybody with color spray. I was like, you know what? I ain't dealing with all this nonsense. So I was just like, boom! I just color sprayed the entire bar. I was like, you know what? Now you're just ruining my good time. I'm hanging out trying to meet people, and you're just making a ruckus for no reason. So everyone had to get dazed for a while.
Yeah, and it was a non destructive, right? Like it wasn't aggressive.
Yeah, no, it was literally just to sort of
to calm the crowd. You
stop the riot. And
yeah,
just,
it did turn into
deal with your shit for a while.
Yeah, it was a bar fight, and you quelled it, which I think kind of leans into your hobgoblininess, where hobgoblins are
right. Like
known.
I got to the point where, like, you know what, I had enough of this noise, so I just turned around and was like, and I just threw the spell at it. I was like, all right.
Yeah, hobgoblins are very militaristic in their outlook on life, and that would make sense, right? Like
over the years, they sort of developed the hobgoblin into a very a society of their own, where they're even a little bit more like militant and regimented.
Yes,
in a way, which is fine. But like I said, I just sort of tried to play like the super intelligent hobgoblin and be like, who just wanted to look a little more deeper into things. Which is why with the occult skills and the arcana skills and all that stuff, which really kind of went with my character. I also used the custom background that we decided on for this game called a Riftwater Orphan. That means I'm sort of born with like a birthmark that's like a sign that sort of puts me into this society known as a Riftwater Orphan, where like sort of my parents go off into the crusade and I'm raised by a foster family. But I was sort of like very studious in that family, as I guess sort of like I know it's my birthright to fight in these crusades and to stop the demonic forces, but I sort of had to mentally prepare my game for that. My character had to sort of get his game ready in his head to sort of like that's sort of why I went into wizard. I was like, I'm just going to play super intelligent, but like if I get pushed too far, I'm just going to like rage a hall all over everybody because I can't live without rage a hall.
I feel like your hobgoblin might dedicate into barbarian just slightly, just a little bit, just for that rage. And be like, I'm angry, and now I'm going to punch you to death, which would be hysterical.
Yeah, it's sort of one of those things where like like I could be pushed over the edge if the situation gets like too annoying in a way. Like something just bothers you. Like it may not bother the common person, but something just bothers you, and you just sort of get like that might happen. That will probably happen a few times on this adventure.
I like that. So next question. Did in your head, right? So in your head,
Right.
when you were building this character, was there any inspiration from other uh, real life or fictional characters that kind of inspired this, or was this like all Jeff Baby? Like,
Sort of like kind of my thing. Like I like playing like like the hobgoblins and like the goblins, but making them intelligent characters. Like because that way it's sort of like it's like in anything. Like you can't judge a book by its cover. It's like, oh, here's some crazy hobgoblin. He's probably just gonna like beat me up with a club. But meanwhile, I'm gonna outthink you. I'm gonna outperform you,
mhm.
and then I'm going to win. That's sort of like what he
Mhm.
tries to do. Like he's very much into winning. You know what
Oh,
I mean? That's sort of like, like especially we know what's going on in this AP where we have to, stop the demonic forces. Like his goal is to be victorious in that.
okay. So very goal oriented hobgoblin. You're figuring out what is that statement? Everything is a nail to a hammer, and you're the magical
Right.
hammer.
Right. But it's not only going to be, with like a weapon, it's going to be with spells and cunning.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Since you did go wizard, right? So you went wizard.
I did.
What school did you choose, and what was there any reason why you chose that school?
Well, I chose Abjuration because I love playing Abjuration wizards. I've had many of them from years ago in D&D campaigns, and like I sort of like being like I could do the damage, but I could also do some protecting. Like if I see somebody's really catching a beating, I could send my I could send the protective ward out to protect that person, or I could throw a wall up and we can get away and rethink our strategy. Obviously at higher levels, I can't do wall spells yet, but wall spells are fantastic. That's a whole nother. I can give you a 2-hour YouTube video on wall spells and how to really use them. But
Yeah.
yeah, like I enjoy Abjuration Wizards, because like everyone's like, oh, I want to be the guy that blows stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone likes to be the invoker, which is always fun. I don't know, I have like a really good feeling about this character.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really kind of amped to play this character because like it's sort of been my goal in the Pathfinder second edition to campaign, full campaign a wizard. Like I've played a one shot with a wizard,
Yeah.
and I was like, this is cool. Like I definitely want to do something wizard. Like like I did a sorcerer in the playtest, which was a lot of fun. Sorcerers are a lot of fun, but like I said, just the way my character is, sort of like in his disciplined ways, it made more sense for him to be a wizard, where he would have to study and get his spells and use his spell book, rather than just sort of have the innate magic. It just made more sense for the build that I was looking for.
Awesome. Awesome. Uh, so weird question. If your character, if Sortek could have a cup of tea with any of the other characters in any of the previous campaigns we played, who would they have a cup of tea with?
I don't know. I think I would probably have a cup of tea with Benji.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah, because there was always sort of like hobgoblins and gnomes and goblins and gnomes always sort of had a very tumultuous past. But sort of with our with his charisma and my intelligence, we could almost sort of have like a forum where we would just talk all things like existential,
Mm-hmm.
and like I would be sort of more book reasoning and he would be more feelings reasoning, and I just think it would be a really cool conversation to have. And of course, because Benji will just make all the ice cream, and
True.
if there's one thing about my character, he's a little bit gluttonous when it comes to food. He loves to eat. He loves cake. He loves gigantic meats. He likes all that stuff. He will be, yeah, when we go out to eat, his food bill will be large.
It's at least 10 platinum pieces.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, just
Minimally.
bring me everything. Like, I want the surf and turf. I want all the Benihanas.
All of them.
Yeah, all the hibachis.
All
Bring it
the
on.
budget. You want the
Yeah, like
surf?
I sort of made that one of his vices, where it's like
Oh,
he just loves to eat.
nice. Nice. You know what I think is funny is, speaking about vices, in Pathfinder, obviously you don't really know this, but demons and daemons, right? So in Pathfinder, they've kind of taken that word. So there's daemons, Deamons. Yeah.
Deamon. Yeah,
And
yeah.
then there's
I know the
demons, and they're the same thing. Like they come from the abyss, but they're on different levels. And
right.
if memory serves, I believe it's daemons are created when for one of the 7 deadly sins. So if you're very gluttonous and you die, you would become a demon of gluttony. And
Probably.
yeah.
Yeah, I could see that happening. Yeah.
So now that I know that, I gotta throw some of those gluttony demons in the mix.
There
or
you go.
demons.
I'll eat them too.
And you could they'll smell your gluttonous ways.
That's it. Well, I mean, it's not like over the top where I'm gonna like knock people over and steal their food, but I'm gonna be like, all right,
take
like
that.
if they're getting like a turkey leg, I'm getting like a turkey.
Nice. I support that.
Yeah. Well,
with the
plus you can always
gravy.
take a little bit. Always take a little bit for the road. Yep.
Yeah.
Gravy blanket.
Gravy blanket, man. That sounds like an amazing band.
Yeah, that's great. I love it.
So with Sortok, I wanted to call him your old character's name. With Sortok, they have a spell book, right?
Yes.
What kind of spell book is it? Right? So Pathfinder and D&D, well, Pathfinder has kind of said like you have a spell book, but it can look like anything. So what does Sortok's spell book look like? Is it like a velvet covered book with arcane runes, or is it like a notebook that like one of those old school, like, you know, the marble notebook jammed with notes in there?
Oh, like the composition book?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know it's almost more like sort of like a leather bound, like an old rugged, like think of Indiana Jones's hat.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Remember Indiana Jones, like his leather hat?
Yeah.
When he had the leather hat, it's literally just picture that as a book.
Oh.
It's like dusty and sort of like cracked, but I still keep it oiled, even though it still shows all the wear.
Yeah.
And you know, of course, it has like all the parchment and the papyrus. And, you know, there's notes shoved in and out, and you know, I have things sort of bookmarked and stuff like that. Yeah, that's sort of how I envision it.
Yeah.
It sort of works with the ruggedness of the hobgoblin, and also sort of everything that kind of goes with my backstory, with you know, with the orphan and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It kind of fits.
I really like that you've embraced that rugged lifestyle for this wizard, and you're not the typical, like, you know,
he just happened to be super intelligent.
Yeah, the big glasses, and they're like, well, actually, let me tell you about, you know, and they're like, no, I'm all about it. Like, if there's a mix, I'm in it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I'm in it. Well, I say as Abjuration Wizard, you have to sort of be, I mean, maybe not on the front lines, but you have to be like the back support. You have to, you know, that's why I took with the meta magic, you get the extra meta magic feat at first level. So that's why I was able to do a 45-foot cone of
that's right
of color spray instead of the 15 feet, because I just used the widened spell with the extra action. And I was like, I'm just gonna blanket the place.
Yeah, you
gravy
did.
Of color spray gravy everywhere.
Gravy. So I have a question. Since you are one of my older players, by older I mean more experienced in, you're from the old school. You started in like 2E, 3E kind of era.
Yeah, well, yeah, like we played very little first edition because by then second edition was out of Dungeons and Dragons, and then we were just
all about that.
Boatloads of it for decades. Yeah.
So my understanding of magic is the spells you learn from the book, right? Like, so from the player's guide that we have, is kind of like spells the wizards would learn because they're always in combat, which is vastly different than the school educated wizards.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's why they have, you know, the different schools that you could really like choose from. I mean, years ago, there was one, I played a divination wizard. I was like, oh, divination wizards, they stink. I'm like, yeah, but now I know where everything is. And when you know where everything is, that's when you say, okay, fighters, battle masters, you figure out what we got to do.
So,
sorry, excuse me.
It's okay. So, if I had to ask you, what would be Sortok's spell? Like, if they could work on creating a spell, let's say it's a 9th or 10th level spell, right? Because Pathfinder 2nd edition goes to 10th level spells now. What would be their spell? What would be the current Sortok spell if they could create it?
For a super high level spell, I would make an invulnerability spell.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you know what, you're just invulnerable to everything. Like you take no damage. I mean, obviously it would only last a certain amount of time, or absorb a certain amount of damage. Because I mean, you can't just be invulnerable forever.
Yeah.
But you could just be like, like you can't damage me. Something like that. I mean, if you're talking an 8th, 9th, 10th,
Yeah.
10th level spell, if we're talking something big, it would be like an invulnerability type spell. Because I know over the years, in some of the older games, they would have invulnerability to normal weapons, invulnerability to magic weapons,
Yeah.
invulnerability to missile weapons, stuff like that. So, and maybe even if it was like a 9th level spell, you can even like project it to somebody else.
Oh.
Like, all right, like somebody say, yo, I'm gonna one shot this thing because everyone else is getting wrecked and I'm the big fighter. Like maybe I would do that for Nell and just be like, all right, Nell's gonna take this thing. I'm just gonna channel my energies into her as an abjuration wizard because it's protection and defense, but you still get all the spells that you could just be like, okay, I'm gonna fireball and then I'm gonna wrap it in a wall of force, and there you go. So that way none of my people get it and they get it. There's like
something.
I was always a fan of combination magic, and I'm hoping to do a little bit of that with Artura, which is Zach's character. Like in the old days, like people used to do, I'm going to web everything, and then somebody would fireball it.
Yeah,
the web would give you the extra damage. So like spell combinations are really good. That's why I'm always a fan of having 2 spellcasters in the party that could sort of play off of each other if we have spells that work well together.
Yes.
Like if he has a wall spell and I have a wall spell, we could practically make us a box.
Yeah.
Like, all right, now what? Now you're in a box.
That's very true. Boxes suck.
Yeah. Right. And then, you get your druid, you just fill it with water. Say, good luck swimming with your armor on in a box.
That's pretty terrible.
There's so many ways that like magic is always better. I notice when like you could work stuff together. I mean, you know how magic is. Magic is always like, oh, that's so cool. You just blew something up. And I'm like, yeah. It's like, I just blew something up after he did that or she did this.
Yeah, exactly.
I always find, that's what I say, like, that's another part of being the intelligent character. Like, you almost kind of, like, know more when to strike and when to cast your spells as opposed to just casting your spells. You're like, oh, I just see that he did this. So now if I do this, it's going to intensify it, or make it better or make my spell better or something like that.
Yeah, makes sense. And speaking of working with your teammates, why don't you tell me what Sortok thinks of his new crew that he worked with in the prequel? You obviously you don't have to remember all the characters' names. So if you're like, hey, Zach's character or Fabio's character or Steve's character, you could just say like, oh, Sortok thinks, this character is silly or blah blah blah.
Right. Well, Sortok knows Nell or has heard of Nell as we sort of predetermined in the thing. Like he knows that Nell is like a no nonsense kind of person. I know that she's real tough. I know she plays no games, and that actually works with sort of my demeanor about things. Like I'm a little more stoic. I'm a little more, I'm calm until I get pushed over the edge. Like I know my fuse may be a little short, but I'm usually fairly calm before that. So that it kind of works. Like like I said, I know of her character. She's a no nonsense person. But I also know that we'll probably travel well together. Fabio, who is playing Henny, I think he's like a little over the top, but like I know there's something else there that he's not just like some goofball. Like I know that there's something in there that's going to be really, really good and really, really useful to the cause. So, I mean, that's another thing of sort of I'm playing my character in a way where it's like we have a cause. And if I didn't feel that somebody would be useful to this cause to help us achieve a victory, I'd be a little bit down on that character. But no, I think Henny's got some surprises for people.
Cool.
Artura, who is Zach. Zach has some knowledge of my character. That's sort of how we sort of predetermined. Like I know, like I said, I guess we have a little bit of knowledge of each other before game where I don't know, like I know he's like, I know the way he acts.
Yeah.
And to me, it's a little too much.
Okay.
But like I said, but I know that he can handle himself when it's time to handle himself. So like, I'm not too worried about it. Like I know that him and Nell are going to clash a little bit only because he's so way out and she's so reserved.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
But listen, that's people, that's personalities. I deal with people like that all day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I see somebody who, like, I know that person is calm and, fairly quiet, whereas I know this person's going to be bouncing off the walls when I see them.
Yeah.
But we all hang out together. So,
oh yeah. Yeah.
Like, it could definitely work.
Mm-mm.
But that's going to be an interesting dynamic to watch. And then Kana, who is Steve's character. I love Steve's character because he was just like, all right, like he was not afraid to just get into stuff. And I was like, this guy is going to be fun to travel with.
Yes.
Because he's kind of like, he's a little bit almost like me in a way where it's like, he's like a little bit stoic, but like, it doesn't take much to get him going in the way he's going to be going.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sort of very excited for that. So yeah, that's kind of like my take on everybody, really. And that sort of works with me as my sort of stoic personality. Like I sort of already, sort of the intelligent wizard, like, is like, I've already compartmentalized where everyone is going to be in my brain.
Thank you very much, Jeff, for having this conversation. And if you're interested in seeing more of Sortok and whether or not Jeff's character hits level 20 and creates their invulnerability spell, come check us out when we play on our Twitch channel on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at NVNG on Twitch. You could also follow us on all our socials, which is most of them are at NVNG Podcast. Or you could go to our website and catch up on all our older episodes, which is nvngpodcast.com. So from all of us here at Nothing Ventured, Nothing Game, want to say have a good day, good evening, or good morning, depending on when you're listening. Say goodbye, Jeff.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Tune in. It's going to be a lot of fun. You'll love it.